Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing True Detective Season 4, and today we are on Episode 2. We are joined by two very special guests. They have been with us on many a True Detective journeys, Nate and Pat. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Nate, friend of the pod. Glad to be back again, continuing this gauntlet.
I'm Pat. Happy to be back. Love any opportunity I get to chat with you. And it's a gauntlet this time.
It really is. We are podding so hard. We're going to follow along with True Detective along this journey, but we are quickly covering episodes 1 and 2 so we can sync right up to episode 3. So if you haven't watched episode 2 yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen because we are diving right in. All right, Sarah, kick us off with an IMDb summary for episode 2.
While Connolly threatens to transfer the Salal case to Anchorage, Navarro and Danvers make a discovery that brings the former colleagues closer together.
All right. What are our episode titles of choice if we could name this episode? Let's go around and share. Pat, you want to go first?
Sure. I like mine because it actually is related to my episode 1 title. Good job benefits.
Noise. There's like a meta storyline happening here with Pat's episode titles. You better keep this going. We're ready for episode 3.
I'll see if I can.
It's just gonna be like the Enos tourism board by the end of it.
All right, Nate, what was yours?
What a shit bowl.
Nice. Sarah, what about you?
Mine is Corpsicle.
Nice. And mine is Wrong Questions.
Very good.
All right, here we are. Episode 2. A lot has happened. We are fully on this journey now. And I'm excited. Let's do a quick temp check. Let's go around, round table temp check on how are people feeling today? Are we feeling a little bit more optimistic, more upbeat, or are our hearts slowly shattering into more pieces? How do people feel about episode 2 of this show? I'm going to put Nate on the hot seat because we're all curious to know. Nate, how do you feel? How do you feel about episode 2?
I still don't think it's very good. Didn't really recover for me so far. So we'll see how we go through the rest of the season. But I don't think this one's gonna thaw.
Aren't you clever girl?
Guilty as charged.
I feel like I'm getting some deja vu right now, of like starting off the episode. How do you feel, person in the hot seat? And this is not working for me yet. We'll see.
But Sarah's all smiles. I can tell she's like radiating. Like, oh.
I'm so happy that I'm not the only one. It feels so nice to have a fellow passenger for this ride who's like, it's just not working. So I'm happy to not be alone. And I'm also happy to not be the first one who has to go every time.
It's been an empathy building exercise for me. It's just like, yeah, this is fine. I guess I have to keep watching it. It's like, yeah.
Well, what I'm hearing, if I'm reading into, I think Sarah should go next, is that you two need to meet up in Alaska, spend some quality time, really get to know that character of the show, and then come back and talk.
Well, we haven't gotten to you yet, Pat. We still need to take your temperature.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not hooked. I don't
She's
know that I will
now.
be hooked. I'm just watching for the pod, and that's all right.
She's got a little pep in her step now this time around, being like, it's fine, She's got a whole
Sure do.
army of 2 happening here.
I'm
There's
alone.
there's this like air of confidence that I
Yeah,
hear.
exactly. I'm sensing that too. Seeing that too.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot more I'm sorry's through season 1, especially as we got, like, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, guys, but like, no, but I'm sorry. Now she's just making claims.
Well, I knew that I was wrong in season 1. I am the problem with True Detective season 1, and I am aware of that. I'm not I don't know. I might be the problem with season 4, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
All right.
By the
all
time
right.
we get to like episode 4, it's just gonna be Nate and Sarah like, am I right? You know what I mean? Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little echo chamber here. So, Pat, I'm actually really curious how you're feeling with episode 2. You had a lot more optimism, faith, hope that was alive when we ended our
Mhm.
review of episode 1.
Yeah. um, I would say I've transitioned to I'm having a good time. I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm not
Oh,
like
all right.
hooked.
That's great.
I don't love it. I'm not like, wow, my drunken friend and his prophecies might actually be true. But I'm like, yeah, I'm here for a good. Yeah, I see your face, Nathan. I'm here for a good time. And in episode 2, they didn't do any mystical shit.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, cool. Yes, I was like, all right, that still doesn't really explain what happened in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't love that, but at least we're not piling on the layers of like, now we got frogs raining from the sky
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So I'm here for it. I'm on board. I want to know what happens. I have my opinions.
I'm so pleased.
Yeah. First of all, it was a drunken prophecy. You make it sound like I'm an alcoholic. Your friend isn't drunken. Second of all, I agree the lack of like supernatural stuff is better in this episode. And I also want to put out a minor retraction when it comes to them being buried like vertically. They were lost for a while. I think like a storm or something could have like done that to them. So as they were digging them out, I was like, oh yeah, it's Alaska. Okay, that was a little bit much.
Nate, is there anything else on the record that you would like to change?
No, everything else is still spot on.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, when that opening sequence unfolded and the man began to scream that was buried, and I thought that was going to be some mythical stuff that was just like for color, I was like, oh no, just giving them ammunition for this
I was
haunted
pretty
horror
fully
stuff.
checked out when he started screaming. I was like, yeah, fuck this.
I still have questions around how that's feasible, but it's okay. We're how long he was there for? Is that feasible to be frozen for that long and still alive? I don't know.
No, certainly not.
Hold on. I just saw something the other day that alligators can exist in like frozen bodies of water, and they like stick their snout up through the ice, and they get down to like 3 heartbeats a minute. So you know what? Maybe that homeboy was on some alligator shit, and then his arm got ripped
A
off.
ton of bacteria can do that too. Unfortunately, this is a show about humans, so you know, other things are cool too. We can just talk about other things.
Sorry, I didn't know we had a zoologist on the call. I'll just shut up now.
Oh man. I've given up on the dialogue being good. That it's real not great in this episode. And the character study stuff, I'm potentially beginning to concede. Like it is like halfway out of my hands as I'm giving it over to just be like, we might not get the cool character study stuff, but I think that there's some amazing things that they're doing with the setting and the place and what this says around like the crime is this like indicative of larger forces of evil and whatnot. That is very True Detective, very resonant of season 1. And I'm loving that part. Like I think there's a lot of side characters and side people that we meet in this town, and some really great scenes with them that I feel like is so indicative of this like place and the psyche of the people here that I think is fascinating. So I feel like if this story was set anywhere else, I really think it doesn't work. And so just the concept of like how people are at the edge of their humanity in this place, I think is really interesting. And I'm intrigued to see how they weave this with season 1. If they do that well, I'm going to be so down for this. If they do some cheesy, like loose connection stuff, I'm going to be really upset. But I'm still holding out hope that it's going to be really cool and really good. So we shall see. We shall see. There's some Travis Cole stuff that I was like, oh, I hope you don't keep going down this road.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued. What did we think about that little connection point that we find out quite early on in the episode?
Fucking hated it, but yeah. It's like you keep his name out your mouth, season 4.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say, like, I already freaked Nate out the last episode with the potential of someone showing up here. So, or persons, but yeah, that was that and the Tuttle Industries or whatever, Tuttle Syndicate.
Remember the Tuttles?
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, there it is. And it was funny because it became very clear in season 2, all this like, oh, they're connected and blah 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 blah, and like, you don't get any of that in season 1 aside from hypothesizing Alaska, and then it was like season 2 was okay, all right. Sorry, not season. What? Episode 1, verse 2.
Yeah, I was like, what? I don't.
It's been a long, cold, dark night, Nate. I'm still waking up. Episode 1, no connection. Episode 2, okay, we're here now.
And the spiral thing on tattoo on her back and everything.
Yeah.
I don't tend to like when things, this feels harsh, but can't stand on their own. They just kind of like rely on member berries to like draw you in. It's like, remember season 1, remember this thing that you love, and it's like, yeah, okay, but do something that will make me love you. We all remember the thing that we love. So yeah, that stuff never gets me. It's like I'm done with Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, any kind of that old IP stuff I don't care for.
This is why in the chat I was like, it won't hurt you again, Nate. He was like,
yeah, you lied.
Are you hurt though? Are you hurt
yet? No, not yet, but the ingredients are there.
I want to know how Sarah Callan is feeling about the case, because the entire time they were on the bleachers, wrong question. I was like, we're detecting the shit out of this right now. And like, I was just going to say, I was like, I hope this lands for Sarah. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they are detecting, and there is this honing in on the right question, which I also think was like maybe a more subtle nod to season 1 of True Detective, because Rust ends one of his interviews with start asking the right questions. And so I was like, okay, that's that's a subtle tie-in, not a really obvious in your face tie-in. So I do appreciate that they are trying to solve this case, and that the case is a little bit more prominent in this. I'm just curious if they are actually going to be able to solve anything. Like, I know that they're working hard and trying to figure this out, and it's not an easy case, but they don't seem to have done much so far. So, and we only have 6 episodes. So I'm like, okay, we have 4 episodes left to solve this case. Are you going to be able to do that? Is talking about asking the right questions going to get us to the right answer? I don't know. We'll see.
I kind of feel like we're going to get there, because like Navarro's whole thing is the like Annie K case. Like that is her like obsession. So I feel like that will keep things moving.
I trust Navarro to solve the case. I don't know if I necessarily trust the others to solve the case, because I think Navarro has made the biggest contributions to this, which I think reflects poorly on Danvers, because she's just shit talking Navarro and being a jerk to her most of the time, even though Navarro is the one who has done most of the legwork and produced a lot of the clues that then Danvers goes and uses when she's asking questions. So anyway, I trust Navarro to solve the case. So she is the hope of this season for me.
Well, why don't we get right into the character piece of it? I mean, let's talk Danvers. Personally, I think she sucks. Jennifer Hahn, how do you feel about Danvers?
Okay, I feel like this is deja vu back to True Detective season 1, where clearly Marty is an awful human being, but I appreciate that the show chooses to give them more humanity than just like the outward ways that they're like a racist asshole. You know, like she obviously has some really bad moments, especially in episode 2. But I think that there's these moments where they flash back to like grief and loss that she's experienced, and it doesn't condone anything that she does, but I do appreciate that there's a softness in her that she is now manifesting outwardly in a really terrible way. But I think for both of these characters, the show doesn't choose to make them one dimensional, and they have a lot more to them that they're unfolding. And I think it's fascinating because both characters have experienced grief and loss and trauma, but the way that they've processed that is so different, and you can see it so palpably. So I feel like they're kind of really perfect foils to each other. Um, and I'd say in episode 2, like we see a little bit more of like moments of softness in Danvers that like we didn't get at all in episode 1. Like there's a scene in particular with Danvers and Navarro where they're talking about putting the cans away, and there's like such evidence of these people like really knew each other and spent a lot of time together in their past. So there's kind of like these nods or little like peeks into like a better version of who Danvers used to be. And obviously, a lot of that is not displayed right now externally, but I appreciate that the show gives them like humanity and complexity. She sucks. I mean, she's like a bully to everyone and racist and whatnot, like obviously, but there are these little nods that I appreciate.
I think you nailed it. That's how I feel. Also, all right, sorry, Sarah, hot seat again. But I'm like hitting you with like hot seat positivity. So it's not like season 1 all over again where it's like I don't understand and why, and please apologize. Um, Sarah, what are you thinking about the male casts or characters? I think for the most part, the men who have had the most screen time are actually a little endearing. Like I want to know, like I'm rooting for Pete, and
Oh
I
yeah,
like Kavik.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I like Pete. I like Kavik. They're great. I think Hank is still kind of a creep, but he's not
Hank
the
sucks.
focus of this.
Mhm.
So, like, we have, I think, some delineations in the characters. We have Liz and Pete, or not Pete, Liz and Hank, who suck. They're terrible, and then everybody else is good. And so I think that that's kind of an interesting split. You know, there were so many times when Liz was on screen and I'm just like, I don't like you as a person. I don't want to be following you as you solve this case,
Mhm.
because you suck for all the reasons that Jen just said. But then anytime any of the other characters were on screen, I was like, oh, this is kind of enjoyable. Like, I like spending time with you. I like spending time with P and Navarro and Kavik, you know, these different characters. Rose, I think she's great. So there are these characters that I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this. So I think, to your point earlier, Jen, the setting in this town is probably the most interesting part of this for me. And kind of some of the macro things and some of the racial tensions explored, and I think that part is interesting. I'm just not fully hooked into the show, you know. So I think while that part is great, it's not enough for me to be really like sucked into this the way that a lot of other people are.
I really want Hank to get scammed by this lady.
Yeah,
his
he
Russian
definitely
wife
is.
that he is also catfishing. Like, I just want him to just pour money into her, and she's just scamming and playing him.
I mean,
I would be so pleased.
Mama's getting her medicine, so you know
Oh,
he's he's
mama.
he's working. Yeah, he's working Venmo hard by the looks of it. It is interesting though because like even though Liz is an unlikable character, like I really enjoyed the bleacher scene where she's like helping like Pete develop and like you know become this like detective and gain this experience and think about things a certain way like and clearly with Navarro too like she shows up as a teacher for these characters that we like and so it's kind of like unfortunate because it's like you and like Sarah to your point you're like I enjoyed all the time that we spent with Pete but like also some of the enjoyment I feel like we get watching Pete we couldn't have without Danvers and like her role.
I think that's like one of the only redeemable things she's done so far is like doing that sort of mentorship. Uh, yeah, that was like the only reason that that scene kind of works. But yeah, I agree. She sucks, and I don't know. I get the comparison to like Marty in season one, but Marty seemed to have a few more layers at this point than she does. I think just because of the nature of like the way that the show was paced, and it was just so heavy on Rust and Marty. Like the you kind of got like more when we were at this point in the season from both of them, whereas like there's just so many characters in this, and like it's just jumping around kind of a lot. Um, but yeah, like I get the kind of like she's clearly dealing with some kind of loss, but uh, it's Marty was a character I kind of loved hating. You know, he was like there was a sort of engagement there where this is a person that I'm like I don't like hating you, I don't want to watch you, like Sarah was saying.
But props to Jodie Foster who's doing her job.
Yeah, I mean she's a great actress,
Right. And well I'm
but
saying if the intention is for the viewers to feel this way about Danvers, she's executing very well.
I don't think that's it's usually not the intention that you want, right? For like your main character to be like you want them to be engagingly terrible, not like revoltingly terrible.
Fair point.
But I think that's a product of the writing. Like she's just so nasty in so many areas and like manipulative and like needlessly cruel and like racist and elitist and gross in so many ways.
There is a charisma that both Rust and Marty had that like just kind of draw you
Yeah.
in, and part of it's probably their chemistry together. Whereas I was expecting and a little bit surprised that these two aren't actually spending as much time together by episode two, which is
Yeah,
just
like
different.
none.
There's actually like a lot more side characters than there are in season one. Like just so many people kind of in the orbit that we spend a lot of time with, like a whole conversation between Pete and Leia, you know, like a whole conversation between Navarro and Kavik. And so like our two leads actually really aren't spending that much time together. That might change in episode three now that they're partnered up. But I thought they would kind of join forces earlier in this episode and like establish that a little bit more.
I mean, now that they've put the cans away, if they don't partner up, what are we here for?
Mm-hmm. Cans are put away. That's great theming.
I did enjoy seeing the relationship with uh, Rose and Navarro, and that there was like, because that was kind of unexpected, and you know, you learn that they clearly like know who each other are in episode one, and she says like, "Come back by" and stuff. I don't know, there was something really sweet and tender about that scene and that exchange that I enjoyed.
Yeah, it was nice to see her have a character that she sort of respects as an equal and like have some warmth there. There isn't really that. She's kind of caretaking her sister, and she treats Kavik a little bit like shit, honestly. She takes him for granted for sure. So I agree. That was nice.
I thought that scene was so significant for framing a lot of the rest of the episode and kind of the themes of the show around, like, when Rose says sometimes the dead miss the living, sometimes the dead need something, and sometimes the dead just want to take you with them. And like, we see a lot of moments later on where Navarro's thinking back to her past, Liz is thinking back to her past. You see all these characters like this closeness between the spiritual world and their physical world to them as they're like experiencing these like several months of night and the delirium that sets in. And I feel like you feel that a lot in some of the scenes with the people in town. Like, I thought that scene with the bar fight with Chuck the miner was like really significant for some of the themes of the show around like his sense of morality is warped and twisted. And Navarro like picks up on that pretty quickly too, of like, there's a part of him that is glad to see that his life is preserved here, and they're all kind of like out for just surviving for themselves. So I think that like some of the thematic weaving that the show is doing is like really, really fascinating, really great. It's less like linear and scoped to just like a few people solving a case, and more kind of like a mood piece around this place, these people, the city, the powers that be, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Ennis really is kind of its own character, both in community and in like the weather and terrain. Um, like there's as I'm like watching this and they're walking through like their little market or they're going to like the little alcohol stand, like too that there's no more like resources. Like what we see, like those because those shelves were like kind of barren, and so and then even Hank is kind of like, oh, I'm tapped out. He opens his cabinet and he's got like a couple shelves with some cans on it, and it's like this is a place where like if you run out of food, the next delivery that comes to the market like could be a month. I don't know. So like just this whole we have to survive together type element, despite having differences of which we very much have, I also find very interesting. Um, so I'm curious to see how kind of that character, not character, continues to work its way through the show.
Try not to be too harsh on it.
Unleash air
Please.
grievances. This is what we're here for.
I spent
Speak
hours
the truth.
airing out my truth about A24, Nate. You're in a safe place.
Yeah. There's just a lot of it that really doesn't work for me. I think when dialogue is bad, I really check out and start to like pick stuff apart. And there's just a lot in the show that like there's a lot of unearned, I think, melodrama that is just like irritating me a little bit. Like she draws the spiral in the snow and it's like I think it's older than the ice even or whatever she says. It's just like cut away. It's just like what? The even the ending, like stinger or whatever, where it's like he's still alive. It's just like you don't know that. Like what? You can't just say that. And then just so many little bits like that, like the mental health discussion, like in the grocery store thing, just felt like it was from like a soap opera. Like they have a hug, like there's just people shopping around them. I don't know. The whole thing was just so strange. Yeah, there's a lot about it that's not working for me.
I mean, remember, we're heading to a conclusion where we end up in a plane crash on a deserted tropical island to see. This is obviously a prequel to Lost. I mean, we got the polar bear, like, so give it some grace, Nate. Like, we know where this is going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it'll all be worth it once we get to Lost.
Honestly, that would be quite something. It's fine that this is trying to tie into season 1, but if this just jumps over to Lost, that would be an impressive piece of screenwriting.
That's true. Yeah, I would kind of love that.
One of the things that I don't like, because I feel like I'm kind of trying to, be
positive.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Right. is everything to do with Danvers philandering, I'm over. Get that the fuck out of here. You over here sleeping with dude's husband. You over here dismissing homeboy's whole class. Like, then you over here going to the chief, and then you copping an attitude. Like, I'm sick of your shit. Like, keep it in your pants. Your attitude's already enough. We don't need this on top of all of it driving the attitude. And even Navarro says your shitty attitude in season 1. And now I'm like, your shitty attitude is compounded by the fact that you just over here thinking that you can just home wreck your way through town. Not here for it.
Mm-hmm. Can I talk a little bit about how much I hated that school scene? Like every part of it was just like the worst thing ever. It's like she leaves an active crime scene to get an exposition dump on what they do at the research facility from a geology school teacher. Like she's taking calls and like trying to coordinate things. It's just like this shit couldn't have waited 10 minutes. And you dismiss a class to do all that. Like she sucks for doing that. Why do we need another character? Why do we need another character? That whole thing was the worst.
Bryce, we promise.
And the dialogue during all that was
bad.
very bad.
Yeah.
The dialogue between her and the captain after their little sesh was also truly terrible, terribly written. They're just like children on a playground, like, nuh-uh, no, you know, like just like nothing clever came from that.
Yeah.
Right. And Bryce, if you're out there, it's not you, it's her. All right. We don't want you off the screen, and we don't wish that you weren't on the screen because of you. It's her. Promise you that.
Yeah, the moment in this episode when I knew we were going to be in trouble with the dialogue is, I mean, obviously the first whole episode, but in this episode, when they are working amongst the bodies, and she's like, we should send this to Anchorage. No, we're going to keep it. And like that transition happens in like 10 seconds. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is not going to be fun for me.
However, since we're on this ride, the lap bar is down. We can't get off the roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. We have committed.
No.
I mean, think
unless Matthew McConaughey shows up.
Think that if they had sent it to Anchorage, there'd be minimal to no more detecting, and we'd just be sitting with these characters without that vehicle.
Very true. But then we might see less of Liz. And we might just be like palling around the town with Navarro as she's working on this cold case, separate from Liz, who can just be out banging the school teacher, the chief, or whoever off in her own little world. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
There could be an argument made for that.
That's true. I would sit sidecar to Navarro, just tooling around and seeing what's up.
So basically an entirely different show than the one we're getting is what I'm hearing.
I did appreciate, and I don't know, growing up somewhere that is cold and has snow, I did think, for me, I don't know why this stuck out, but when Danvers is leaving the motel room from her booty call with her boss, because, you know, that's appropriate. The way they shot it was like from the passenger seat of the car or truck through like the truck window. And you can see where like the snow has, like the doorway has been dug out from snow, and the snow kind of like goes up on the walls, and you can see like these lines of ice on the window. And I was just like, oh man, it just like, I feel miserable looking through the screen right now. Like this cold is no joke. And like, I don't know, I just enjoyed that shot. I hated everything else that had to do with it, but I enjoyed that shot.
Yeah, this show looks like they did a great job filming this and creating a sense of like time and place. Just even like the still shot of like the dogs outside while they're like right before the bar scene, you know, like just this sense of place that somehow is miserable, but you also want to just like deep dive into it more and like understand how this whole world works for them. I thought like truly Ennis is a character, and like we're getting to know Ennis, and that is drawing me in for sure.
Yeah, all the shots outside, like around the bodies, where they're just like cloaked in like black all around them. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Really feels like oppressively empty and barren.
I'm also here for Kavik. I'm enjoying. I love Navarro so far. Like I'm having a good time with Navarro. Navarro, don't you fucking hurt him. Right? You already scared the shit out of him while the man was trying to have a nice, mindful, sensual bath experience. All right? And you kind of talk down to him, like we said earlier in this discussion. But like, keep it together.
The show's just so absent of like everyone's so miserable and
Look at where they live.
Everyone kind of hates each other. I know, I understand, but like it like that's what makes those scenes feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like the banter between what's her name, Leia and Pete, and like the any moment with Kavik. It's just like you're just drawn to it like a moth to a flame. It's just like, oh, good, some warmth. So they're nailing that aspect, I guess.
I'm also curious to learn more about Danvers and Leia's relationship and why she rejects Leia like embracing her culture and that whole thing. And I mean, for good reason, Kayla can't fucking stand Danvers. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go home and put up a Christmas tree, but yo baby daddy has to go sit in a gymnasium all night and watch paint dry. And like
that was like the most despicable shit she did. I was like, I hate it.
Yeah, and then she shows up at Kayla's house,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, nope, don't like this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then goes in the kitchen and starts being like, mouthing off. Got grandma all upset. Like, how dare you?
There's the sense that there's like got to be more to it than just like there's something in her that like this triggers. It's like such a large reaction because you would think that the person like Leia's dad, the person that she's loved, she would have this sense of like, let me celebrate your culture and who you are, unless she really is just like absolute trash. But like, I would like to think that the show has more depth to it than to paint a character that like flatly, you know what I mean? And with this, there's a sense of more to it that she's triggered by that causes this like disproportionate reaction, like she walks into that kitchen and is like immediately ticked off, and you're like, this is the daughter of the person that you love that is also of this culture. Like you think that there would be just such at least a tolerance for it and a desire to understand. So I'm like, there's something more brewing beneath the surface.
I kind of assumed that there's more that is explained later. I will be extremely disappointed if there's not. I mean, that reaction, I was like, okay, we're not going to come to understand this now, but it's coming at some point. If it doesn't, I'm going to troll the shit out of this season of this show. But either way, like, to your point, though, just you would, like, the character elements, you would think that she would, like you said, like, be open-minded and, like, welcoming to, her celebrating her culture and this and that. But, oh my God, if they didn't address that, that would be the most lost shit I've ever seen, second to the polar bear. Just like throwing shit out there, giving you completely vivid questions that we are just not going to answer. Just middle finger to the face, viewers.
I mean, I don't know what it could possibly be that would like explain it clear, like enough for me to be satisfied. But like, I think that the show will give us more, right?
Oh, there'll be an attempt for sure.
An attempt. Yeah. And I am curious to see if there's a breaking point with Pete, because I forget who said it, but someone basically said no one likes you except for Pete, and you're like hurting him or like abusing him, taking advantage, whatever. And like maybe Navarro said that, and you see that in the fact that he's got to sit in the gymnasium all night. You see that, and that she makes him like my line from episode 1 where she basically is like, I'm sorry, did you say no? No, I want you to go and like literally create friction between you and your father and like add like embers to the fiery relationship that you clearly already have. And he does it.
Mhm.
And Hank, like a shithead, comes and fucking hits him, which I hope Hank gets his. And I also hope that Danvers, I'm really curious to see if Danvers sees his face, puts it together, and has it out with Hank. But I say all that because, like, you can tell Pete is very fond of Danvers and like respects her and looks up to her and like even in the house, she's like move the Christmas tree into the living room in the first episode, and it's like this man ain't your bitch. Like, you know what I mean? She like crosses this line of professionalism and like mentoring to like he's my lackey assistant, and so I'm curious to see if we reach like a head with Pete where he has to like dig his heels in the ground and realize that Danvers is not who he kind of sees her as so far.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I don't know, Pete is such an endearing character, and I appreciate that he's trying to set up boundaries and he's trying to do things in like a healthy way while still doing his job well. And then she just has no
Mhm.
sense of boundaries because she just wants to control everyone and everything. So I hope he gets fed up enough with that to make a choice, and that will be a good moment of character growth for him.
There's a lot more side characters. Like, I really am intrigued how they're going to weave these all together. Because I don't think that they're just there for just, mood piece again around like these people. And like, if we think back to season one, we see a lot of scenes with Maggie and Marty's family, but then that collides with this like primary storyline. So I feel like all these people, Hank, Leia, Pete, Navarro, her sister, are all gonna like intertwine and collide with each other at some point, and things are just gonna go down. Like it's all gonna start to like bubble over as all these intersecting like loyalties, beef with each other begin to blossom and come to life. So I feel like lots of foundations have been set and like parallel storylines that haven't quite touched each other yet, but I think they're going to start to weave together pretty soon. We shall see.
Love the optimism on that side of the table.
I like that clearly Jen and I are on one side.
It's just the warm flame that I'm drawn to. It's keeping me going.
Jen and I are clearly on one side, and you two are on the other side. But it's okay. Yeah. We're able to have this meal together without contention, unlike the last one.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be intrigued to see if this does what Severance does, where it strings you along for so long. Like they're gonna explain it all. You're gonna get your answers, and you get none of it. You get like but a crumb to like chew on in the finale, and I'm like, I'm not watching any of these next seasons. People are like, are you excited for season 2? No, I was tricked. I went along for the journey. I held on hope. So I have hope for this show, but we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do.
It just keeps happening to me. Like I watched that and I was like, I made it to episode 8 or 9 and it was like, no, I'm done. Like I know what this is going to be. And then now this show, it's just like, is this what good TV is now these days? Like we used to build things in this country.
Slow burn just doesn't do it for you. Or you've held out hope for slow burns for too long.
Slow burns work for me with good dialogue and good like building and everything. All the ingredients need to be good for a slow burn. This is like a slow burning hot pocket.
some gas station eats.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be
right next to the Old English pet.
It could be the gas station hot dog that sits on the roller all day until it literally like gets crusty. So I mean, we're a little bit above completely terrible.
No, it's not completely terrible yet.
Right. I want to learn more about. So, question: is the woman who owns the hockey rink Kate McKittrick? So.
That's the one that they mentioned in the first episode, right?
Kate McKittrick is the woman who Navarro goes to her house while she was investigating Annie's death. And like, it's implied that she like offended her or overstepped. And the woman who
Yeah, I think
owns
that's
the hockey rink, who I think they call her like the mime or something.
no. I think they mentioned the mine, like it's owned by the mine.
Oh, the mine. That makes way more sense. Okay. So
Yeah.
the woman who like owns the hockey rink is also named Kate. And I'm curious if that is McKittrick because clearly she does not like Danvers. And I want to learn more. Like, I want to see
Beef.
more of like that dynamic. And I believe it's because didn't Danvers sleep with her husband?
Yep. While
Right.
they were still, yeah, just home wrecking.
Right. But I'd be curious because it's like you can get a sense if it is McKittrick for how much she loathes Danvers because when she walks out and she's like, fucking bitch, Trooper Navarro. Like, clearly, whatever, like, thing Trooper Navarro did that was line crossing, like, Trooper Navarro still gets, like, a warm hello, and Danvers is just, like,
Yeah.
vehemently hated. And I would be curious to see more interactions with them. Mostly because I'm like, oh, I'm Team Kate because Danvers pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, she mentioned that she dated her husband, right?
right, but I'd be curious to see more interact. Like we know the reason, but I don't know. For some reason,
There's more there.
there's more there that I would be curious to see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I think she's gonna come back up again. She also just clearly seems to like hold a lot of like power and influence in this town. So I don't know if she's tied to Tuttle in some way, like the larger powers that be, something there, you know. But
Tuttle
it's all
United.
connected. It's all connected. Sarah slowly shaking her head.
I just rolled my eyes.
I could okay, so at the beginning of the episode they're like coal, like, ooh, okay, here's the tide of rust, okay, and then like we keep going and then it's like Tuttle, and I'm like, are you kidding me that this organization would stretch all the way to this northern part of Alaska where nobody can get to? Really? This is our choice? This is how these are going to connect to each other? So this Tuttle connection, I am not here for. Is it plausible? Sure. Is it the most logical thing? No. But it is the choice that has been made, and we'll see how far Tuttle's, reaches go.
It's so dumb. That this tiny town in Alaska is both where like Rust's father lives and like the Tuttles happen to be there. It's just 4 more episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got this, Nate. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna have a great time.
It'll be good. Yeah.
Trauma bonding, y'all. That's what you do.
Yeah, as they smile through like clenched jaws. Okay, let's give out some awards, shall we? Best character clue. Sarah, what was yours?
I'm gonna say that Kavik being a dog person makes so much sense. And he just seems like a sweet person who just wants to take care of these dogs. And like Pat said, if Navarro hurts him, I'm gonna be upset. So yeah, Kavik being a dog person.
Him patching up the dog, it was like you couldn't make him any more endearing. He's a teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
Nate, what was your choice? Who gets best character clue for what moment?
I thought Pete's little monologue about his father and family, and like his melancholy about that, and kind of their broken family, and his like forgiveness of him, and his sort of like shows his kind of yearning for a mentor figure and why he's putting up with so much shit. So that was pretty passable.
That.
So mine was actually the same as Nate's, but it was more framed from like we learned a lot about Hank. Doesn't excuse anything, and I don't like forgive Hank for being shitty or hitting Pete. But it was like, okay, some of this makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a little better delivered than like the quick flashback of like Jodie Foster with like the kid personally. I don't know why they don't want us to like her so hard. Like they're giving us so little.
Yeah.
So little. It's just like the fact that I like Hank more than her feels like a mistake, right?
It's concerning.
Like he at least I pity. Her I don't pity yet.
That's fair.
Jennifer.
I think Navarro needs some. She's just so great. Like they need to make her a little less great. Because her next to Danvers also is not helping Danvers' case at all either. You know what I mean? So the foils are really foiling each other. My choice for best character clue is Danvers saying, "Did you change where you put the cans?" I held on to that morsel and just savored it. I'm like, oh, there's more here, y'all. We're gonna find out in the next episode. So just the history between the two of them. I'm fascinated to see like what went down. All right, next category, best burn. This is Nate's favorite category, as we recall from episode 1.
Yeah, this is I think the best line in the episode. Try it in English, nerd. It is just the writing, the delivery. It is just so bad. That was the moment where I was like, we're done here.
All right. This category's gotten like a new meta meaning for Nate. Just
yeah. No, it's a Razzie for me. These awards are Razzies almost.
Nice.
all right. Pat, what'd you choose?
I chose my spirit animal showed me in a dream, remember?
That was my choice too. I think that scene is interesting too because it's the perfect example of like Navarro can play. Danvers just not playing back. You know, like she just doesn't serve it back to her, you know, and I feel like Navarro's clearly got like this playful side who's clever and witty and whatnot. And I feel like Navarro's trying to play and Danvers is just not having it. So
Well, Danvers can dish it, but she can't take it.
She can't serve it back.
But even when she dishes it, it's like mean though. Like it's not.
Right.
It's
Right,
not a
right, yeah.
fun. Anyway, we need Danvers to get some help on. We need her to get some like emotional healing so that she can then do like witty banter and dialogue. That's really what we need here.
I agree, but I disagree.
Okay.
She needs help in the form of a fist to the face.
Hey,
She
that
needs
too.
help.
I'll take it.
But okay.
Yeah, that's also a great option. Can we get a fist to the face and then therapy? We can do both. Maybe that'll
You know,
be
in
our
a
wake
small
call.
town of like 60 people, I'm sure they have a therapist who lives there.
I'm sure.
It's
Hey,
probably
they have-
Kavik because he owns the bar.
There you go. They also have like a ton of cops for this little tiny town. So surely there's a therapist somewhere. You know, they probably have internet too. They could do telehealth, whatever. Anyway, my candidate for best burn is you can save your favors for your family, from Kayla to Liz.
That one's actually good. That was really good. Yeah.
All right, looking ahead. What do we want to see, y'all?
I mean, I feel like I've been talking about that this whole time. I want to see a fist to Danvers' face. I want to see more of Kate on the screen and seeing what she's about.
Agree. Fist to the face. That would be lovely. I also want to see more Rose. She's a delight. Let's find out what's going on with her. And more Kavik with his cute dogs.
+1, +100.
All that sounds good. Yeah. I'll steal their answers.
+2?
I don't know. I think the kindest thing I will have to say, I'm hoping I can say at the end of this season, is it didn't ruin the first season. So what I'm hoping to see is an absence of characters and reprisals and connections. It's just like this one was laying the connections to season 1 on pretty thick, and I'm hoping they don't. This isn't the beginning of a bell curve.
Episode 6 ends, not a Rust and Cole and Marty in sight, and just
This is a sigh of relief.
we made it alive. Made it out alive.
I'm going to mail you a life jacket to wear when you're sitting on the couch watching the rest of the episodes, just so you feel safe. Like, in case something.
I mean, this is the scariest show I've watched in a while, but not for the reasons that they like intend. As soon as I said Travis Cole, I like tucked my knees up in the fetal position. I was like, here we go.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what this screaming man that somehow is still alive and cheated death. So what does he have to say, if anything at all? I'm now that Danvers and Navarro are paired up, let's go. Like, this is go time. We're gonna episode 3. I'm intrigued to see their chemistry and their warmth begin to develop. Get a little taste of it at the end.
Well,
Did you change where you put the cans? More of that.
We'll see the chemistry, but I can't guarantee there's warmth coming. Like, the cans could be a moment in time that happened, but it could be friction the whole ride, the rest of the way. I'm hopeful for you and us, but I don't have a level of faith.
I love the hope. It's so delightful.
All right, so Nate, orange or blue, what color do you want your life vest?
I'm fine. Save your money. I got a pool floaty around here somewhere.
All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of episode 2. You can find available on Max. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're fans of TV and the powerful ways we connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. So everyone is welcome here, and we're glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey through True Detective Season 4. The lap bar is down. We are shooting through the sky. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about episode 2. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We will be back very soon to discuss episode 3. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again very soon.